Damn, he got me beat off the line. See.
Yo.
Yo, quick question. You still have your Heybike Villain, right?
Yeah.
Have you done your well-known big budget upgrades on it yet?
Big budget upgrades? No, I'm not. I actually wasn't sure if I was going to modify my Heybike just because I'm pretty happy with it as it is. And I've also put less than 20 miles on that bike. Why? What do you have in mind?
Because I want to give you a challenge between you and me. So, I'm broke, so I can't do big budget upgrades. So, I want to challenge you for $100. Well, a budget of $100. Let's see what kind of upgrades you can do, what kind of upgrades I can do to our Heybike Villains.
$100. Okay. Does that count stuff that I already have?
Wait, hold on. Because I know you got a lot of stuff left over from other bikes. Yeah, why not? Because I'm sure I can find something from my bikes over the years that I could use as well towards the $100. But like $100, that's your budget. Go on Amazon or any other website, get whatever you need within that range, and then we'll link up and see who has the better looking bike, the better performing bike, whatever we feel, the result is.
Okay, let me get this straight. $100 total budget to modify my Heybike Villain, but the stuff that I already have don't count.
But you know what? Let's talk about one item that we both already have.
Okay, I'm allowed to use one item. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, deal. When does it need to be done by?
This weekend. So we have a couple of days. So have it done by the end of the week. We'll link up, go for a ride, and see which bike is overall better. Looks, performance, or anything in between.
You know it's Wednesday, right? You're giving me 2-3 days?
You have Amazon Prime. You can overnight some stuff, can't you?
All right, fine, game.
All right, and then loser, just like last time, has to take 2 shots.
That's it?
That's it? Okay, fine, 3.
All right, deal.
All right, bet. I'll see you in a few days, and good luck.
So my buddy Elmer called me 2 days ago and challenged me to modify my Heybike Villain with a max budget of $100. And apparently I have to get it done by tomorrow afternoon. So I'm just gonna stop talking and start tearing into the bike. And that is how you take off the swing arm from the Villain. I've never actually worked on one of these bikes before, but it seems pretty simple to figure out. I'm just gonna take off the remaining hardware and then I'm gonna start prepping this for paint. So what I'm planning on doing here is replacing the stock short fender with a Talaria XXX fender, which is literally double the size, but I kind of like the way this one looks better. I think it goes perfectly with the gloss black frame, but the problem with this is the bolt pattern is completely different. So I'm gonna have to re-drill the Talaria fender to match the original one. I'm just using some 320 grit sanding sponges. I think it's a lot easier when it's flexible to get around the crevices. To paint the swing arm, I'm just using some Rust-Oleum truck bed coating. I've used the same paint on multiple razor projects in the past, and the finish has always held up really well. It's like a wrinkle satin finish that usually comes out really clean, that it almost looks powder coated. You really can't beat it for 12 bucks on Amazon. And of course, whenever you're trying to spray paint anything at home, make sure that the garage is properly vented. I'm gonna have my garage door open shortly and turn a fan on. And make sure that you also have a respirator that's designed for painting, just to reduce the chances of inhaling anything toxic. If you are interested in anything that we're using for today's project, I'll have the full parts list and tool set in the description below. And if you're enjoying today's video so far, make sure you hit that like button. And if you like this kind of content, want to keep up with some of my projects, make sure you subscribe to this channel and turn your bell notification on. And here's a closer look at how that finish turned out. It's been setting for about an hour now. And I actually messed up in a few places. I actually laid it down too heavy. I was spraying too wet right around this section, but it actually blends in pretty good. Like, this paint's always been very forgiving and usually settles pretty flat overall. I do have to pause on painting though, since I have a 3-month-old baby in the house and it smells like paint. I really just don't want her to inhale anything. So I'm gonna wait till the morning when they're gone, just to play it safe. For the meantime, I'm gonna connect to the stock controller and turn up the tune. So in order to connect to the stock controller, you need to have one of these Bluetooth dongles. It's basically just an antenna that you plug into the controller harness. Should be a 4-pin connector, just like this. I think you can actually reach this with the plastic still on. You can just take the seat off and reach for the connector. So once you have this connected, just key on. You should start seeing this blink red, just like that. We're gonna open up the Far Driver app and connect to the controller. It's gotta be this one, LC52V80A. So let's take a look at the tune on the stock controller. I'm just gonna jump to the advanced settings, Open Pro and BLE. So max line current is already set at 70 amps from the factory, but I'm pretty sure that this controller is able to do 80. And then max phase current's already set at 260 amps, which is maxed out for this controller. Rated power, I'm just gonna change this to 3000. Max speed, and change this to 7000. Gonna leave weak response at 0. Ratios and speed. All right, so it starts at 100, and then from 1500 on, it tapers down by 5%, all the way down to 35% at 55. I think I'm actually going to turn these up to 100, all the way to about 6,000 RPM. This should feel like it's a lot more torquey down low. Now, please don't ask me for tune settings. I am not a professional by any means. I'm just a random guy on YouTube sharing what I'm doing with my bike. All right, so at 6,000 RPM, I'm just going to start tapering them down by 10%. 6,500, 80, and maybe 15% at 7,500. So if you wanted to add regen, this is where you'll do it, but I'm actually going to leave mine alone. One other thing I'm going to change is the speed in reverse. I think it's just a little too slow for me. So from factory, it's set to 150 RPM. I'm just going to set that to 250. I think that's all I'll change for now. So save settings. Obviously, we'll test this out when we're all done with the bike. And once you have the settings changed, you can just simply turn off your bike and disconnect the Bluetooth dongle. I always get asked in my other videos for the Yasma and the Tudio whether or not you need this connected. And the short answer is no. This is simply just an antenna for the controller to communicate with your phone. It does not change your tune if you unplug this. If you are interested in getting yourself a Bluetooth dongle, I got mine from Amazon for like 19 or 20 bucks. I'm not going to be counting this towards the parts budget though, since this is basically a tool that I've used on 5 or 6 bikes I have in the garage. I think everybody should have one of these who likes to modify their bikes that have far driver controllers. So I'm not completely against the yellow, so I don't want to delete all of it. I also want to keep the Heybike branding on the side of the panel so it's not just plain black. I know Heybike's actually coming out with some different color panels as an option on their website in case you want to swap colors, but I want something that's a little bit different than what everybody else has. But I do want to black them out, so I'm going to paint everything black, but I want to leave the pockets original. I'm having a little bit of trouble getting this adhesive off the threads, so I can take the lock nut off and take this charge port out. So I might just leave it on and mask the cable and the cover for the charge port. And then to paint the panels, I'm just using this SEM color coat. If you're in the automotive industry, you might know that this stuff is supposed to be really good on plastics and vinyl, such as dashboards, door trim panels, even changing the color on the seat. This paint is supposed to adapt to whatever surface you paint it on so it doesn't change the surface. It's also flexible, so if you paint vinyl or like a seat, it doesn't just flake off easily like regular spray paint. One downside is this is a little bit expensive. I think it was almost 30 bucks. I want to say $27 or $28. It's almost 3 times the cost of regular spray paint, but I want this project to turn out nice and I want it to be reliable since we're putting so much time into it. Doing the back's probably overkill since nobody's ever going to see it, but I'm pretty much treating it like a practice panel. And here's a closer look at how the panels turned out 6 hours later. I'm so glad that we took our time to mask everything and prep the surface. I think the finish turned out really, really nice. I may have dropped this panel. I think there's a little bit of a scrape right here in the top edge, but other than that, really, really happy with the finish. Even the backside looks pretty clean. I wonder how Elmer's project's doing. The seat I'm super happy with. I've never painted vinyl before. This is the first time I'm working with flexible paint. But the stuff's supposed to be pretty tough. I ended up doing 3 thin coats, 15 minutes apart. Then the black border on the back side, blended right in. Can't really tell that I did anything. Like this finish pretty much looks OEM. There's 0 signs of this seat being modified at all. I'm really hoping that the finish holds up on all these panels long term, but I've got faith in this SEM stuff. I'm glad that we spent the extra money on it. So I just got off the phone with Elmer, and it sounds like he's having quite a few issues with this project. A couple of the parts he ordered from Amazon don't fit his Heybike, so he has to return some things and order some other stuff to take a different approach. So he asked to extend the timeline an additional week to next weekend. So I'm gonna take my sweet time with this project to make sure we do everything right so I can make sure that I beat him. And since we have a little bit of time to spare, we might as well take out the KTM since I have not turned this bike on in at least 4 months. And it's finally starting to get nice out. Man, I've been riding so many electric bikes recently that I've almost forgotten what it's like to ride my gas dirt bike. just something so satisfying with switching gears and clutching in. You might be wondering why I'm riding in circles around my lot. That's because I'm actually trying to cut some trails in. As you can see, there's a section that I cut just a little bit lower than the rest. I'm trying to create a path for me to wear in over time, so I can kind of turn this into a trail. I do have some trails here. I'm going to show you real quick. They're a little bit tight still, but I'm just looking to expand it a little bit more. I want to extend this trail to go to our open lot so we can start adding in some jumps and additional obstacles to practice on. And I still got to cut that tree down. God damn. Way too cold out. The beginning of March was such a tease. It was 80 degrees just a couple days ago, and now it is 40 degrees. I am getting a little bit cold though, so we're gonna cut it short today. All right, we're hopping back on the bike, but before we reinstall all these freshly refinished parts, I kind of want to clean up the bike some since it's still caked in mud from when we last took it out on the trails. I'm not going to get too detailed with cleaning this up since we're likely going to be taking this out on the trails again, but I at least want to make it look presentable. Next, we're going to be replacing the stock 60-tooth rear sprocket with a 53-tooth, which should increase the top speed by a couple miles per hour with a trade-off of losing some lower end torque, but the Heybike Villain makes a good amount of torque to begin with anyway, so I don't think it's going to be that noticeable, but we'll find out once we have it on. I think I got this for $24, which should put our whole parts list, including the spray paint, to just under $97 at this point. But we're actually not mounting this on the stock wheels since I got myself a set of new Supermotos for this bike, which I ordered way before Elmer called me for this challenge. So I am choosing this as my one part that I already had. Look at that. Man, it's gonna look so good with the gloss black and yellow accent theme that I'm going for. So I got these wheels and tires directly from Heybike. Front tire size is a 90, 90, 12, and the rear tire size is 120, 70, 12. Kenda Curve street tires. Also came with some wheel spacers and washers. We do have to transfer the brake rotors from the stock wheels though. Stock sprocket's on there. Typically you would transfer the stock sprocket and the hardware to the new wheels, but I'm just gonna use different hardware that I have here. Another good thing about the 53 tooth sprocket is it's black, so it goes perfectly with our theme. Damn, I forgot to loop the swing arm inside the chain before I mounted it onto the frame. That's all right, it's pretty easy to disconnect the master link anyway. And we might even have to shorten the chain since I stepped down the sprocket a couple teeth. So I'm thinking that the longest spacer is gonna go on this side, and the second to longest is gonna go on the side where the brake caliper is. And for chain alignment purposes, I think I'm gonna add 2 of the small spacers on each side, and we'll see how everything lines up. So I'm just gonna keep the rear axle snug enough so we can still slide it forward and back while we adjust the chain tension. Well, I don't think the chain tension adjustment bolts go that far out, so I might have to take out 2 links regardless. Well, another approach I can take is just installing some longer bolts to make this work, but I'd rather do it right. Now we just got to make sure that we adjust the chain tension adjustment bolts evenly on both sides to make sure that the rear wheel is tracking straight. And then we'll lock things down and torque down the rear axle. Just the right amount of slack. Just a quick recap of how we have the spacers oriented. I have the 2 longer spacers in the back, the slightly shorter one on the right side where the caliper mount is. Then I've got 2 washers in between the caliper bracket and the swing arm. And then on the left side, I have the longest spacer that came with the kit, along with 2 spacers between the swing arm and the spacer as well. And we just took out 2 links to make sure that the chain length is proper for the 53 tooth sprocket. This should also be the right length if I decide to step it up to a 57 tooth if I want more torque later on. Then I have the chain tension adjustment even on both sides to make sure that the rear wheel is tracking perfectly straight. For the front, we're going to be using the 2 shorter spacers that they provided. The slightly longer one is going to go on the side where the brake caliper is. This thing is looking so freaking dope with the Supermotos on and the Talaria fender. Let me know what you guys think of the look so far. I cannot wait to see how this thing performs in comparison to Elmer's bike. Let's see what it does on mode 3 now. 62.4 miles per hour. Obviously that's without any load on it. We'll see how fast this thing actually goes with a 180-pound rider on it. If you guys want to get more information on the Heybike Villain, I'll leave a link to their listing in the description below. You can also get yourself $100 off this bike by using discount code PATOUTDOORS.
Time is up. Bikes are done. I'm here with both my bike, which you can see the recap build on Pat's channel. I'll let him explain what he did to his bike, which personally already looks a lot cleaner. If you ignore the mud that I forgot to clean, just let us know what you did.
I took a pretty simple approach with it. I went for the mods that I think make the biggest visual changes for little dollar amount. First thing I started with is the Talaria XXX fender. I got this for 32 bucks on Amazon. It looks a lot more aggressive than the stock short nose fender.
Honestly, it does, and I might actually buy a fender set for my bike too, not to be a copycat. I like how it looks.
I had to re-drill it though.
Okay.
To get the bolt pattern right for it to bolt up to the fork. Obviously, I've got a set of Supermotos from Heybike. That was the one part that I chose.
So
that I already had because
so that was your freebie.
I technically already had them before you called me, so you could say I'm cheating. You let me know.
No, rules are rules. We had one freebie.
I spent way too much money on spray paint. I went for the SEM flexible vinyl plastic spray paint, which was $28 for one can. That's what I used for the seat to refinish that and the side panels, just because I know that it's really reliable. And I left the pockets original just to keep a little bit of the yellow theme. I did tune the stock controller, so this should be producing a little bit more power, which requires the Bluetooth dongle, of course. And
which you also already had.
that's not really a part though. You know, I've used that same dongle on 5 of my bikes.
Okay, so it's like a universal thing.
It's a universal thing. You can get one for like 20 bucks on Amazon.
I'll allow it.
I also swapped out the gearing. The rear sprocket was a 60 tooth from factory. I switched it out to a 53 tooth to try to gain a little bit more top speed. But we'll see how it actually performs in comparison to a stock one, since you kept your powertrain stock pretty much, right?
Yeah, and I like how we both went a street versus a dirt route for the bike.
We're gonna test them out both on the street and off-road today, just to see how much worse or how much better they got.
I like this challenge.
Budget-wise, I spent $40 on spray paint, $59 between the fender and the sprocket, so I'm right below the $100 mark. But then I did add the Supermotos.
Pretty big difference between what, a $300 upgrade versus a $50 free upgrade.
Hey, if you took out the Supermotos, I think
we're about even in terms of parts, right?
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah. What did you end up doing with your bike?
Honestly, I would call it the bare essential upgrades. I went in with like a big idea, but then I kind of humbled myself learning that I couldn't do that yet for my first time. Originally, I wanted to do new handlebars and pegs, and then I realized that the bars and the pegs I got don't fit, so it made me take a step back and go even more of a basic route. So I started off with handlebar grips. So these are ODI grips, which at first I thought would be a pain to install, but thanks to the power of the internet, it was real easy with zip ties and rubber bands. Then I took off the plastics and painted that black. Couldn't have done a better job, but it was like my first time doing it in a long time. Either way, I got the goal of redoing the color. The most time-intensive part, in my opinion, was the seat cover. I've never done that before. I've seen people do it all the time. I had an idea what it took, but the main part that I was really focused on was making it look nice and snug as possible. And I got a little buddy on the bike now too.
Matches the black and yellow theme.
That's what I tried to go for. I wanted to take the extra step and paint the swing arm, but with the time crunch that I had, since it's a friendly competition, I didn't want to waste any extra time to do that as well. Maybe down the road on my own I'll do it. I also got a metal front plate. It was on my RSF Razor bike, but I took it off and put it on this one. I feel like the gold and black, while it's not entirely black and yellow, kind of matches or kind of complements the black and yellow theme of the bike.
So what did you end up spending on this project?
I think the grips maybe about 20 to 30 bucks. I know the seat was about 30 bucks. Spray paint, maybe 15, a can of spray paint. And the front plate I already had for like a year or two now.
So you're gonna count that as the one part that
Was like free, so
then
that I already had.
you are under the $100 mark then.
But overall, the learning experience, I kind of feel more confident now tinkering with the bike a little bit more in terms of upgrading the parts. So I'm proud of myself, honestly.
Well, I
So,
think you won as far as the budget. You want to see how these things perform?
let's do it.
I'm
Let's rip
anxious to
around.
see if this bike is actually gonna be faster than yours.
After your tuning.
Yeah.
Let's do it. I'm sure on the street, but I think on the dirt I think I got you.
All right, let's see what's actually faster. A completely stock Heybike Villain or one that's tuned for 80 amps with a 53 tooth sprocket. You ready?
Yep.
3, 2, 1, go.
Damn, he got me beat off the line. Shit. He's also got Supermoto, so he's slicker on the street. Yeah, I'm cooked. Top speed on the screen is 48. Yeah, I was set to say he got me beat with the upgrade part on the tuning.
All right, let's run it back. Round 2. 3, 2.
I'm like tucked in and everything, trying to catch up to him. Damn.
It's definitely a little bit downhill in that section, so I'm not gonna let that count. But it does seem like this bike goes about 50 miles per hour. He's just butthurt because my bike's faster. I know I got a set of supermotos on, but do you want to see how they compare in the dirt? I mean, I think it still handles pretty good with the supermotos on. Honestly, for a $1,400 bike, the Heybike Villain is pretty impressive. I think with a higher output controller and 52-volt battery, it just puts out a lot more power and accelerates much harder than the other bikes in the same price range. All right, we're gonna see how these two bikes perform in comparison to each other. Supermotos versus the stock dirt set on a set of trails. I'm gonna give you a 15-second head start. Do you think that's pretty fair?
Can I get 20? Because I'm still learning and new to
20? Dude, I'm on supermotos. All right, fine. 20 seconds, but you're gonna take 2 shots if you lose.
I bet.
3, 2, 1, go. Damn, can we catch him with a set of street tires though? Oh, he's really cooking it. 2. It's a little bit shady with supermotos on, not gonna lie. Especially since the ground's still a little bit wet. Oh, okay, definitely have traction problems with the supermotos on. Ooh, and it's also really rough up front with the 12-inch wheels on. Damn. Yep, traction issues. Supermoto's not advisable in the dirt.
Let's go! Honestly, I'll give it to you. If we did 15 seconds, we probably would have been close because I just got here.
If you're planning on doing any sort of trails with your Heybike Villain, keep the stock wheel set with the knobby tires on, since the supermotos will definitely have a little bit of a traction issue.
So since you lost, let's go take some shots.
Well, before we take some shots, who won this challenge?
Honestly, in terms of being completely unbiased, in terms of looks and performance, you. In terms of full overall budget, not accounting the freebies, I think I did, but I feel like that's to be left in the comments. So who do you guys, the viewers, think have the better bike? Pat's Supermoto Heybike or my budget off-road Heybike? What do you guys think? Leave it in the comments. Who won?